mistake because I'm not good at names and all that. Remember all. So, and I know I've heard them and seen you before, and I apologize in advance for that. I have my husband here with me too, just in case you like
to defend you.
Carol, can you move to the microphone,
to keep me
please?
straight.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today to introduce Major General Carol A. Mutter. As you know, yesterday the President nominated her for advancement to Lieutenant General. She has agreed to spend a few minutes with you today. Everything's on the record. General Mutter.
Thank you very much. They asked me to make a short opening statement, and I would just like to say that this is absolutely a thrill, an honor, and an opportunity. Just an amazing thing to have happen, very exciting. I'm very proud that the Marine Corps has done this and is the first to nominate a woman to the position of Lieutenant General. And should it be confirmed by the Senate, I really look forward to the additional opportunities and challenges ahead. I'm open to your questions. Yes, ma'am.
Assuming the Chief of Manpower position, what are you going to do regarding the combat exclusion, or what will your advice be to the Commandant as to whether it should be fully repealed? Or?
I think any those kinds of specifics on manpower policy I need to defer because I haven't had a chance to think too much about that yet. I certainly haven't had a chance to talk to people and get briefed on what the various positions are and the concerns and the pros and the cons of various positions. So I'll need to wait till I get briefed.
What about the name, the title, manpower? Should it be people power? I'm just trying to get a feel for your sensitivities on some of these issues.
I don't view the term manpower as gender specific. I think it is a large enough term to encompass all of the people in the Marine Corps.
Have you been breaking the barriers all the way along in your career in the Marine Corps? Can you talk a little bit about being the first woman to rise to this rank and sort of the steps that you've been dealing with along the way in a very male world?
It was a very different world when I joined the Marine Corps almost 29 years ago, and the doors have been opening one at a time during my career. Yeah, I have not always been the first one through those doors, and in fact, rarely has that happened to me. But more recently, when I went to the Space Command, I think I was the first woman space director of any of the services, since that's a command where all the services have people there. And then, of course, making the second star, that was the first time the Marine Corps had promoted a woman to Major General. So it's been more recent, I guess, and sporadic that I was the first one through the doors. I have always been comfortable in the Marine Corps environment. To me, the values, the objectives, what the Marine Corps holds as important are the same things that are important to me. And I was never made to feel as though I didn't belong and that I was not a part of the Marine Corps.
Let me ask the question that my colleague asked in a little different way, perhaps, and that is, what do you think the appropriate or proper role of women in the Marine Corps and in the military in general might be? I mean, should there be any limitations at all?
I think that because of the type of organization we are, and you're getting at the combat type of role, that's a very different role. It's unique. I'm not sure that the American people are ready to see their women in frontline units with rifles in face-to-face combat with the enemy. And I think that that is something that we have to work through as a country as well as in the military. There are, as I say, doors have opened one at a time, and more we have taken advantage of the skills and capabilities that women have to offer in the services, and I think we'll continue to do that.
General Mutter, what do you see as your greatest challenge in the months and years ahead?
I think my greatest challenge right now is to get through this publicity and trying to meet everybody's needs and still get my job done. So that's going to be a challenge here in the next few days and weeks ahead. There are many, many challenges facing us with the scarcity of resources, the difficulty in managing what we need to do to stay ready and to stay as capable as we need to be in the military, and my concern in the Marine Corps in particular, in the era of downsizing and fewer resources, both people and money, is a significant challenge. It's one we continuously struggle with, and I think it will continue to be our biggest challenge.
What do you hope to achieve then?
Well, I've been nominated for the position of Deputy Chief of Staff Manpower for the Marine Corps, and in that position I think it's extraordinarily important that we do focus on the people in the Marine Corps, try to do what is best for our people. It will be my job to establish policy in conjunction certainly with the Commandant's approval, and to take care of Marines, to include those quality of life issues that we are very concerned about. And again, in a constrained resource environment, that becomes very challenging as well. But it's something we certainly want to focus on, and the Commandant has put a focus on it.
What are your thoughts on the attrition problem? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What are your thoughts on the attrition problems facing the Corps? A lot of Marines getting out.
Again, I don't have any specific numbers on that since that's not part of my job now, so I don't have any perspective to put that in if it's good, bad, or indifferent. Yes.
You talked about how through your career doors have been opening one at a time. Can you talk about any doors which have remained closed to you that you did want to get through?
I don't think there's anybody that hasn't wanted to have a door open up for them that didn't open up. I've always tried to look at that as another opportunity. And if this door is closed, then you look around and find out what other door is open, and you take maximum advantage of whatever opportunities are available to you.
Through your career, though, have you tried to push the doors open, or have you just sort of rolled along like a leaf in a stream?
Kick those doors down.
It's an interesting question. I think I've done different things at different times, depending on the circumstance and the situation. There are times when it's time to stand back and salute smartly and do what you're told, and there are times when it's time to speak up and perhaps try to point out a different perspective and a different possibility and try to make your opportunities. I think it's important that you do try to make opportunities when you can, but when you can't, take advantage of the opportunities that are available to you. You mentioned kick the door down. I have an analogy that I like to use sometimes in speeches, that when there's a brick wall that presents itself and it has a closed door and you want to get to the other side, you need to walk up to that door and try to open it. It may not even be locked, and you may assume that it's closed to you when in fact it isn't. If it is locked, find another way through that wall, over, under, around, another door, whatever, if your goal is really important as far as what's on the other side. I do think you need to be very careful about blasting down that door, because if you blast it down, you run the risk of destroying what's on the other side that you're trying to get to.
Is, not to overplay the point on the issue of women and the limitations that have been put on them in terms of combat roles, but it certainly has limited the careers of many women in all of the services, because areas that are crucial to moving up the ranks have been fenced, blocked. Can you address that in terms of the military as a career path for women?
I think the opportunities increase daily, and it is not the kind of thing that you can go back and get the experience that you didn't have because you did not have the opportunity at the time. When I first came in the Marine Corps, we had no women in operational, what we call Fleet Marine Force units. We were all on posts and stations in support roles. When we first put women in operational units, it was not a good idea to put a woman in command or in a very key high-ranking billet in an operational unit if she hadn't had some experience at a lower level in that operational unit. And so it takes time to grow a person through the various experiences that are necessary to have the additional responsibility at the higher levels. You can't just suddenly turn a switch one day and at the very senior level move somebody into a position. It is a recipe for failure, and it's not fair to the institution or to the individual or to the people they're trying to serve. So because it does take time, there are people who are caught in that time warp and who don't have the same opportunities that are, I didn't have the same opportunities that are available to the women today. But I've done okay in spite of that.
Is there such a thing, certainly there has been an old boys network, is there, not an old girls network, but are you in touch with the other top-ranking female officers who are emerging in the Army and the Navy? Is there an effort to communicate with each other?
There's certainly shared experiences, and there's similarities, and there are opportunities to get together with women who've had similar experiences and share those experiences, lessons learned, and that type of thing. There's not really an organization as such. The Navy does have a Woman Officers Professional Association that I'm a member of that has, I think they have monthly breakfast or lunch meetings here in the Pentagon that I can't always get to, and a large annual meeting where they bring people in from all over the Navy and Marine Corps and Coast Guard are primary members, and they, I think, have a few members from the other services as well. So there are some associations like that. It's, again, a balance, because there are some who think that women should not go off on their own and do their own thing, that they should be more integrated, and if you want to be integrated, then you need to act like you want to be integrated and be a part of the organization as a whole. But I do think that there's value to those organizations and to sharing experiences that are no doubt different than many men have had, and in some ways can't even understand.
That the American people wouldn't be ready to see women on the front line holding a rifle in combat. After all, Carol Holtgreen, who was a Navy pilot, was killed in an accident off a carrier. There wasn't a huge outcry. Rhonda Cornum was a prisoner of war in Iraq. There wasn't a huge outcry. So why do you think differently?
I think that's a very good point, and in fact, I think that the women's performance and the women's ability to do the jobs they did and the public reaction to what happened to the women in Southwest Asia, I think, was key to changing some of the rules about women in combat and changing the law. We had a White House commission look at that after Desert Storm, and I do think that rules are changing. You're right, there was not a big hue and outcry. Had the war lasted longer, had there been more casualties, it might have been different. But I also think that the American family is no more interested in seeing their son killed in combat than they are their daughter. And the fact that someone is killed in combat is not the only issue. But do we really need, we're still, I think, in large measure in this country, there is a feeling that until we really need women to get into the front lines and have that kind of risk, we ought not do that. And I think it's based on in every society there are the protectors and the protected. Women generally are the protected because they are necessary for propagation of the species. And that's a very, a sociological kind of thing that happens in most societies. And I think there's still largely that feeling. If we don't have to put women in the front lines and at risk for large numbers of casualties, we should not do that. Now, that's my personal opinion based on people I've talked to. I could be wrong, but I don't see that the Congress is pushing that based on any great push that they're getting from their constituents, and that's another thing that I base it on.
Will you be the, if confirmed, the senior-most woman in NATO as well?
I believe that's true, but I don't know for sure. I don't have the answer to that.
What would you say to a woman who wants to be on the front line and can't understand why she can't be?
stick around for a little while, it'll probably change, and the doors will open one at a time. I think, I think when we're ready, we will do it, and I think there will come a time when we're ready.
Since we're talking about doors, what about doors for gays in the military? A non-starter, or is there an opportunity in the future, you think?
Again, from a policy perspective, I can't really speak to that, and I would like to get some more briefings from the manpower folks on the various pros and cons. I can tell you personally, I don't think that, I think that the military environment makes it very difficult for a person with a gay lifestyle to function in a way with other people in the military who do not have a gay lifestyle in a way that is conducive to good unit integrity and unit discipline and the kinds of things we need to do in the military. We can't always live in separate apartments or quarters back in garrison. When we do deploy, it's a very different kind of environment, and it's a very difficult one, I think, for the two lifestyles to try to merge.
When did you find out you were being considered for your third star, and who told you?
The Commandant asked me some questions early on about possibilities back in January when they were trying to determine what they might do this summer based on the expected retirements and so forth. And I don't recall when. He told me the paperwork had gone forward. He called me on Monday to tell me that the President had signed it late Monday afternoon.
What questions did he ask you?
It was along the lines of what my personal plans were and whether or not I intended to stay in the Marine Corps, because he wanted a commitment. If he was going to do this, he wanted to be sure that I would stick it out and not leave, you know, after a few months.
Were you surprised?
I was surprised about some things, yes. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily surprised that the Marine Corps was ready to do this. There had been rumors and talk, and I don't pay too much attention to that, but at least it had been talked about, so it wasn't a big surprise. And the Commandant had let me know that he had noticed what I'd been doing and my accomplishments, and respected what I had done in the Marine Corps.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.